Awesome.
Hello and welcome to the Aspiring Women Achieving More Masterclass series. Could not be more excited to share with you today this information on goal setting stuff. We talk a ton about, goal setting is such a buzzword, especially if you're a high performer, high performing woman, then you're, you know what it's like to set a goal. And somebody put on something that they were drowning in goals. My God, do I understand that, right? So we're hopeful that after today, you're gonna be able to get your brain around a couple of things, get a little bit of clarity. So we put a lot of work into this. Alex and Victoria have actually designed a couple of things that we're gonna give you a little input into and give you a chance to learn a little more about as we go. Look at all these Victoria Griggs, it's so good. So Alex, if you don't mind, take us to the PowerPoint presentation and we'll just get this party started. So Aspiring Women Achieving More, welcome. A little backstory here. We are not quite 2 years old and we are 2,500 women strong. We have such a strong focus on doing right by women, doing the things that matter in order to grow. And a lot of us are real estate investors, but our focus is the whole person, right? So we are excited to, bring everyone, up to where everybody else is at and do a lot of learning and growing along the way. So next slide, please. Again, drowning in goals it hit me like a ton of bricks when somebody put that, because I get it. Like I am a high achieving woman. You are high achieving women. We know where we are and we know where we want to be, and figuring out the path of how to get there can feel a little arduous. And if you think about it, the nature, nurture, men, women, feminine energy, masculine energy, whatever, I've done a ton of reading and learning on that sort of thing. But, one thing that really does hold true is women are communal beings. We are people who we grow together. We do that. Like, think about, our brains haven't evolved in thousands and thousands of years. Men would go out hunting and all they need to do is kill the first antelope and their family eats for years, which is why they only see one antelope and they don't speak, because they can't kill the antelope, and they can't see the ketchup behind the mustard because all they need to do is kill the mustard and then they're done, right? But we as gatherers needed to, talk about the berries, and you got to go down by the water, but don't get the ones by the tree because those are really sour, and those over there, they'll kill you. So we have to give all of the information. We are communal beings. You come to my house, I'll hand you my baby. So let's do this all together. That's what Aspiring Women Achieving More is all about. So our hope today is to help you figure out that path. And I also believe firmly that success is 80% what happens up here. The vast majority of anything that you're going to do is in your head. It's the strategies, it's the work of self-belief, self-talk, all of that stuff. Like, that is the vast majority of it. 20% of it is the skill. Can you underwrite a deal? That's a skill, but that's only 20% of it, right? Knowing the diet or exercise plan you want to be on, that's 20% of it, right? 80% is what happens up here in everything. So what we're going to do today is talk a little bit about the mindset stuff and the strategy that's going to help you get where you want to go, put a little clarity and truth behind that. Because I also believe that the more truth you put to any problem, the easier it is to deal with. It could be a work problem, it could be a business problem, it could be a life problem, it could be a friendship or relationship problem. The more truth you put to anything, the easier it is to deal with. So let's think about what a goal really is. And I know the word goal gets thrown around so stinking much that it's kind of like Charlie Brown's teacher, wah, 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 right? So what is it really? It's this place that we want to go. And if I am in Chicago and I want to go to LA, that is a very different set of actions than if I want to go to New York, right? So I can't just get out of my car and start driving and hope I end up somewhere I want to be. I have to decide where I want to go first. And then I can tell Google Maps where I want to go. And then it kind of charts this long course of exactly where I want to go, but I have a North Star. I have one big thing that I'm running after. For me, a while back, it was financial freedom to be able to leave my day job. Recently, very proud to say that I made that happen. That was my North Star. In order to get there, you first have to figure out New York or LA, and then you punch it into Google Maps, and Google Maps will tell you, all right, go 500 feet, turn left, right? But if I punch in LA, it's a different set of directions than if I'm going to go to New York. So you figure out the North Star first, and then you dial it back and figure out the next right step. So what we're talking about here is, first we have to define a North Star. What are you going to run directly at? And our one and only aspiring woman, Victoria Griggs, has done a ton of work on this. She has herself gone on a tremendous journey from $0 cash flow to, you guys, she's not going to tell you, but I will. She got up to $10,000 monthly cash flow, and she created a course that really talks to a lot of that. So she's going to walk us through some hacks on figuring out your North Star and designing the life you love. So Victoria, go ahead and take over.
Okie dokie. Thanks so much, Mandy. I love this analogy of, directions. You're getting directions. And I want to talk a little today about the North Star and designing a life you love, because the cash flow is great, but you have to love it when you get there. We hear that time and time again when you look at articles in the news, interviews with people, billionaire outliers who are just making tons of money. They're almost as rich as God. And what you hear from them over and over again is that the money doesn't mean anything if you don't have contentment and fulfillment and purpose. And that's why people in the mindset community talk about your why so much, of course. And we've heard it here in AWAM. If you come to any of our Friday meetings, you've heard it, that the end goal includes the money, but it isn't just the money. And I think that most goal setting programs ultimately miss the mark with women because they're so forwardly money focused. So today I want to talk about getting you to consider goal setting from a non-traditional approach. This is how I do it. I like to call it a seasonal approach to goal setting, which sounds a little squishy, but we'll talk all the way through it. The problem really with that traditional goal setting is that it typically asks us to define our goals based on completely arbitrary thresholds. And so 1, 5, 10, 20-year goals, despite the fact that nobody's life fits into a tidy little increment like that. And we're not all in the same place at the same time. So it's a very disjointed way to actually goal set. We all have seasons of life. Some of us are in toddler raising season and will hand you their baby when you walk in their house. And some of us are empty nesters, and some of us are, getting ready to make a career change or move across the country or retire. We're all over the place. Life happens in really messy, flexible timelines. So when we try to apply traditional goal setting, it is absolutely no wonder why women in particular oftentimes express feelings that their personal and professional goals are like totally butting up against one another and at odds. So shifting from the traditional thought about goals to a seasonal approach to goal setting can really smooth out some of those feelings of disjointedness. And it just feels like you're not working all at the same time, same place, same direction. So I really believe that aligning your season with your goals is absolutely key to achieving all the things you want to do in your lifetime. It took me a long time to figure that out and to figure out how to transition to that. As a military spouse, creating a career is really, really hard. We move every 2 years, and 2 years is a generous number. Our average is 18 months at a duty station. So, having a traditional job is not on the table. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur at least 12 years ago when we first got married. I knew that. And I originally wanted to run a restaurant franchise. But again, being a military spouse, you can't open and run a successful restaurant in 2 years. I'm from New Orleans, so I love the service industry. All my first jobs were in the service industry, and it just holds a special place in my heart. So it's something I have to do in my lifetime. But I spent a lot of time being resentful and yearning and being frustrated that I wasn't getting to pursue my dreams. Sorry. Definitely, I need some water. 1 second. And, it took me a lot of time, though, to figure out through going through some growth and mindset shifts that I really needed to change how I was looking at it. I needed to step back from that. It just took some work to find my footing in growth mindset around this. and move from, if I could just get my chance or have a moment or focus on my thing, into a place where I was able to say, I get to do that when I'm at a place that I am prepared and have the time, and I can pursue it with excitement and excellence. Because I realized that, I was, at the time, had two little babies under 2 years old. I wanted to be at home with them too, just as much as I wanted to have this franchise. So I was sitting there with my goals, again, butting up against each other, frustrated, not focusing on the one that had right in front of me, and feeling resentful of the one that I couldn't get to, until I was able to step back, rearrange how I looked at things, and say, I can do this. I can have this if I have a plan for it. And that really helped me move into seeing my life in a much more positive way and seeing all my goals. Mandy said earlier, drowning in goals. I don't know where you came up with that, Mandy, or where you heard it, but like, it's so true. I felt like I was drowning in goals and I couldn't get any of them done. And I just had to sift through them and rearrange how I went after them. So I wanted to share, if you can, next slide for me. So I wanted to share with you guys, this is what I call the AAA. It's how I had to mentally step back and sift through all the goals I had and figure out how and when to do them. So the first one's acquire. Everyone has to go through this stage. This stage is the groundwork required to take off. It is where you're going to be learning the underwriting skills, or, in my case, I realized that I didn't have business skills to be able to have a franchise. So I was so far from that goal. I needed to go do some other things first and learn some things first. So this acquire stage is collecting resources, skill building. It's that networking. It's that reading books, listening to podcasts. If I were, and I put a couple of examples here that might be a little more fitting, because I know not everyone's like after a restaurant franchise. But like, if you're going after running a marathon, your acquire is those habits. It's those foundational habits of drinking the water, eating well, training weekly. It's that foundational stuff. You have to start doing it. You have to make it a part of your everyday life to do it as well. So you have to make that adjustment of, it's just like when you teach a little kid how to brush their teeth, they have to make the adjustment to go, oh, I got to do this every day. But once you do it enough days, you don't notice it. So then you will apply. So that's the next step. It's really that first thing that's going to produce results for you. So you start with your groundwork, you're ready to go, and then you apply it in a small way. If you're running a marathon, accomplishing that first 5 or 10K, you're seeing those results. You're getting stamina, you have longevity, you have finished something, and you're getting like the positive feedback loop. So it's something that's producing and giving you a positive feedback loop. And then the last step is amplify. Once you have that system down of habit, positive results, you can then really execute on a bigger level. That is when you're in the deep end in a big way, and in a good way, that you're ready to go, okay, I've done this one, I've done this 5K, I've done this 10K, I can do the marathon. You're magnifying and amplifying everything that you've already done. So in this case, it's running the marathon. I also put, a real estate related down there, if that's what you're looking at. For me, it is very similar. The franchise is on one end, but it started with, I got to get that first rental, and then it's apartments, and then it's a franchise. So it's going to happen. And it doesn't really matter. I have reached $10,000 in passive income, and that's really awesome. I'm still at each of these steps with something. So this is something I apply to how I look at all of my goals and how I sort through all the stuff I want to do. So it never really stops. I wanted to make this really applicable for you guys today. And so I just wanted to, if you guys have a piece of paper with you, pull it out, do a quick Venn diagram, or you can write it in 3 different sections if that works for you. But I really believe that you can have it all if you have a plan for it. I know that sometimes for me, I felt so overwhelmed by the number of things that I wanted to get done in my lifetime. I didn't always think that it was possible. And this helped me see that everything can be possible if I build in the right way, in the right order. So I want you to think first about what you did this week. Like, just think about what is on your calendar right now for what you've done this week or are going to finish this week. And think, did every single one of those things move you towards a goal? And if so, what goal did it put you towards? And then put that goal on here in one of these places. And I know for myself, like, I can think about today alone. You know, I talked with a commercial broker here in Louisville, where I live. And I know that I'm back in the acquire stage, y'all, because I just moved to a new market. I got to learn it first. Yes, I have, an apartment complex in St. Louis. I can't say that it's 100% the same here. So I'm back in the acquire stage there. And I'll move to apply hopefully in just a little bit. But think about all of the things that were on your calendar this week, what goal they moved you towards, and put that goal somewhere on here. And then I also want you to think about, do all of those goals work for you right now? If you're writing down things and your entire to-do list, your entire calendar of things is in the apply section, you might need to rebalance something. You might want to think about, if everything is in the acquire section, is there one thing on there that you can move to a different time in your life, that you can pause even for 3 months, that will give you the ability to move something else into apply? Because knowing when to say no is really hard. But when you look at your goals seasonally, it's not ever no, it's not yet.
Mm. Guys, really put effort to this. The more thoughts and precision you put into these ideas Victoria is giving you right now, the more you're going to be able to move something forward. So you get out of this what you put into this. So I really encourage you to do the hard thinking while we're giving, because you're so busy, but you put this on the calendar because it matters to you, because you're a high achieving woman. But right now you are in a spot that we are asking you to be still and think, because you're probably not scheduling time to be still and think. So Victoria, these are incredible priming questions. Do yourself a favor, every person listening to this, and think through, where are you at on these spectrums?
Okay, so Lorena, if it's an acquire skill, if this is something you're doing, like, let's say you spent time on a webinar, or you spent time reading, researching, if you spent time budgeting, because it might be that your goal is, I want to buy that rental. So your acquire phase might be, I need the down payment. So, anything that you have done this week on your calendar that was you gathering information, gathering resources, gathering network connections, it's going to go into that acquire phase. Because those are things that you're basically pulling into yourself, but they're not yet producing results. It's not like you're going to the gym or you have your short-term rental set up and it's giving you money yet. It's your short-term rental for you, Lorena, like your short-term rental is in the apply stage. It is producing something for you. You're getting a feedback loop from it because you put that front end effort and energy into it.
So Lisa, think about it like this. Let me maybe phrase it a different way. Think about one goal. So if your one goal is to buy a small multifamily, right? In order to do that, you're going to have to acquire some knowledge. You're going to have to build up a down payment. Those are acquire activities for your goal of buying a small multi. Applying would be buying the multi, and Vic, correct me if I'm wrong, amplify is really refining that small multi. So there's one goal has these activities for all of them. So our ask of you is think through one goal that maybe isn't in a spot that you want it to be. And then, you know, what are the activities that get you there, and which one are you spending your most time in? Cool. Great. I tried to figure out how to play a song for you during this, but I might have to sing. All right, we're going to give you about 30 more seconds to think this through. This is the one big thing. We're talking North Star here, right? Like that's the vernacular we're using. What is the one big thing that you're running after? And then we're kind of dialing it back. In order to achieve that one big thing, like what are the steps that you're going to need along the way?
Like I said, the way that I usually do this, I usually do a check-in with myself every now and then, and I will just look at what's on my calendar, and I might even look at what's in my sent inbox, yeah, or my sent box in my email, because that's going to tell me what have I been working on, and then I can sort of sort it into, you know, what am I maintaining? Amplify can often be, it can often look like a maintenance thing. It is, I've got that thing up and going, and it's refining that piece and that process of a business. And so, you know, I'll go through my calendar, the sent email box, and look at stuff and see where am I working, where is the effort going. If it's all going in one place, that it's not getting me, nothing's moving to that apply, nothing's moving to producing me a result, it gives me a moment to step back and think, do I need to push this aside or push it? We call it pushing it to the right, you know, on a calendar, you push it to the right or the left. Do I need to push this to the right this season? Is this the thing I really need to be working on?
Sorry, let's do a quick check-in. Is everyone, I love that Victoria Griggs is asking a question. It's so good. Is it better to work on one goal at a time or multiple goals? I think Victoria's point, the real Victoria, her point is that you have multiple goals, but everything is kind of in a different stage. Our ask of you today is you can do everything, you just can't do everything at once. Right. So Victoria's example of her, she wants to own a franchise. She's not working on it right now, but it's still a goal, right? It's to the side right now. So what is the thing that you're actually working on? And we're hoping to help you workshop where you're at in it so that you can provide more forward movement. Let's do a quick check-in. Has everybody had a chance to think this stuff through, that they've got some things? Can you put it in the chat or give me a little thumbs up if you're ready to kind of move forward to that from this? If you want a couple more minutes. Okay, thumbs up. Okay. Awesome. So Victoria, I love the A's. You guys got to know the amount of work that this woman put into this presentation and these ideas for you has just, I mean, I cannot begin to tell you. I'm proud to be her friend, and I have really gotten a lot of value of what she's put together. So Victoria, thank you for doing all of that for us as a community here. So, you know, now we've really talked about where we want to be. Like that's this one big goal that we're talking about today. We're dissecting how to approach something, the where I want to be. Now we are where we're at, right? And in order to think about the Google Maps again, you punch in New York City, and then it tells you drive 500 feet, Mandy, and turn left. Now, the second piece of this is we know what we're running at. We just did a little bit of work on that North Star thing, right? Now, how do we take where we're at and do that, get to the 500 feet, turn left, right? Alexandria, Alex, as we know and love her, is has pulled together a very like precision based, like kind of surgical accountability thing to really give you a sprint for 90 days in order to move you towards where you want to be, that next right step. So Alex, take us away in terms of what you've pulled together.
Absolutely. So anybody who's ever met me or talks to me, they know I'm involved in a ton of different things. It's the way I operate. If I get bored, I'm going to find something to fill that time with. And it like nearly broke me, not even gonna lie. Like when I read the whole, like my overflowing of goals, and I'm like, oh my God, that's my entire life. And it really, sunk in that I'm like, wow, I can't be the only one that has this problem, because life is going to get in the way 100% of the time. Like I have 5 dogs and a military spouse. Like between the Navy and 5 dogs in my household, it's like that's enough to drive anyone crazy. But I'm also running 2 businesses. I run a very large group. Like I'm doing all of these things. And sometimes I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off. It's not always pretty. It's not always linear, but I'm doing it. But I was introduced to this concept about a year ago of just really, really focusing on your one thing for 90 days. Because I, like a lot of you, I had so many things I was running after at once, and it felt like I was busy all day, but I wasn't ever completing any of those goals. At the end of the day, I had my big long checklist. I had my big long to-do list, and I had stuff checked off of it, but I wasn't actually feeling like I was getting anywhere. I was busy all day, but I wasn't focusing on any just one thing. So that's really where, like, I really like what Victoria does, because you're trying to figure out what matters to you. That's what the whole point of that previous exercise was, is you're going to sit down and figure out what matters to you. And then what we're doing now is we're going to be developing a plan and then blocking out time, because you know as well as I do, if you do not plan the time out, the time's just going to take it away from you. You have to manage your time, or else your time manages you. And then the second component of that is not so much coming up with a plan. It's not so much blocking out the time. It's actually being accountable to someone. A lot of times, again, going back to Mandy's conversation about being communal, we tend to do better in groups. We are not the type that are just going to go out there and hunt something down like a great white shark. That's just not the way we tend to operate as women. We do better in a pod like orcas. So we are going to, I love that. I will get that. That's not me. That's from another woman. But we hunt like orcas. We hunt in a group. We have a very like thought out process. This person's doing this, this person's doing that. And part of that is going to be being accountable to that group. And once I kind of realized this strategy and how effective it was for me, especially as a woman, because I had a lot of the same struggles Victoria did, that, I would go to, some of these mastermind events, and then it'd be like, what's your 5-year goal? I'm like, dude, I don't even know where I'm going to be living 2 years from now. What do you mean 5-year goal? Like get out of here, dude. That's not even applicable to me. So it really had to be something where I could be in charge of the timeline. It was my goal that I could attack at that time in my life. That's really what it boiled down to. And I'm telling you, I've done this for over a year now. You are going to get stuff done. So in 90 days, like my most recent 90 days, I got a book done. I got a book deal signed. We're ready to roll. Like I did that in 90 days because that was like my one thing. I'm like, when I had other opportunities come at me, it gave me the space to say no, because it wasn't my one thing. Because I think another thing a lot of women struggle with is saying no. They're like, oh, here's this opportunity. Here's this great opportunity coming at you. And you want to do all the things, but then no one thing is important. Because if you make everything a priority, that means nothing's a priority. So that's why I'm telling you, doing just the one thing, how much of a difference that can make in your life. So what I call, because I'm also a chemistry professor, what I tell my students is you have to plan backwards to move forwards. So you have to have that end goal in mind. And going back to like Mandy's description there, if you type in LA, if you happen to be I'm in Virginia, you type in a map from Virginia to LA. LA's still a pretty big place. So we'll use financial independence, for example, because that tends to be a big goal for a lot of people. Financial independence is a big place, and there's a lot of different ways to get there. But what the 90-day kind of little planning package is you're basically breaking those down into day trips. But the other thing it does is it doesn't get you to just LA. It actually gets you to the building, to the street address, to the right floor, to the people you need to talk to in that 90 days. So you're not going to do the big thing. You're not going to do the financial independence in 90 days. I mean, unless you win the lottery, sure, go for it. You're financially independent. But otherwise, whatever your big goal is, we can chunk it down into 90 days. So you're still taking steps towards it every 90 days. And you can kind of switch it up. It doesn't have to be the same big thing, but you know, for the next 90 days, you have permission to say no to things that are not going to get you closer to that one big goal. And it also, I think another aspect that men don't really realize that women very candidly do is they oftentimes don't really feel worthy of having that goal. Like if I'm going to go take my time out and I'm going to go learn how to underwrite something, you know, a lot of times women will go, oh, I'll watch that video after the kids go to bed because I can't take time away from my family to pursue a goal that I want to do personally, whatever that looks like. I can't take my time away from my responsibilities as a mother, as a partner, whatever that happens to be, to do it for myself. We almost have to like give permission to ourselves to pursue our own goals. But if you have this 90-day thing, you're like, look, I committed to this. I've committed to other women. I'm going to do this. It kind of, to me, helps that buffer. Like I can say no because it's not part of what I've committed to. And I also know I have a commitment to other people, because that's really what's holding us back is we feel we have a commitment to family. So now we're going to go and make an accountability family, basically. So if I already know I have the strength of being accountable to other people, I just need to be accountable to the right people now and for the right things. So that's really what having something focused in 90 days and having those other people around you can really do for you. So I really, really love this 90-day thing. So you'll start with kind of your North Star goal that you established with a beautiful little Venn diagram in the AAA model that Victoria came up with. And then what we are going to do is take that a next step further. So from there, step number one, you're just going to write out kind of major action areas. And this is similar to what we were doing with the previous exercise, but I'm just going to use the example of financial independence. It could be the same thing as for running a marathon, but for example, for financial independence, what do you think you need to know or potentially possess in order to get financial independence? It could be something like, it could be, you know, mindset. You need a good mindset shift. That's probably going to be at the foundation of a lot of things, a lot of goals, is that mindset shift to say you can do it, you're worthy of doing it. You know, do you need to learn how to do underwriting? Do you need to learn how to network with people? If you're an introverted person, maybe you're just like, oh God, please don't I'd rather go to the dentist. Please don't make me network with people. Please don't make me talk to people. You know, maybe that's a skill you need to learn. So at this point, we are not trying to create little bullet point to-do items. That is not the point here. What I really want you to sit and think about are what are some of the major areas that I need to work on in order to meet this goal? Things like education, things like mindset, you know, saving for a down payment, for example, could fall into here. These are big areas. We are not coming up with an action plan at this step. And so I'll give you guys just a few seconds to come up with some major areas if Mandy has some insight.
I think, you know, the more precise you are on this, the more that you have this North Star that you're running after. Like if it is financial independence, somebody talked about partnering on a short-term rental, whatever that thing is, that is the only thing you're thinking about. Now you have blinders on and you're working to dial back how to get the most actionable stuff for this 90-day sprint, this quarter sprint towards this piece of your goal. So for that one thing that you're talking about, what skills or tools do you need? More precise, the more you put in, the better you put in, the better you get out.
And you can also do this for goals that aren't necessarily something that you're going to conquer in 90 days. So like financial independence, for example, having a short-term rental could be one component. Maybe building a stock portfolio that has monthly dividends could be another component of financial independence. All those those big ticket items, if you want to look at it that way, that would be put together to make financial independence. That's what we're looking for now, is those big, broad categories. If you want a particular career, for example, you might require some degree, an advanced degree, some sort of certification, something like that. That could be one of those big goal items. Like you want a career change, so you need the education, you need the certification, you need the licensing for those things. And now step two, So we've written down a whole bunch of stuff, potentially a whole bunch of stuff. If you're like me, you write down a whole bunch of stuff every time you do this. So what we want to do now is basically kind of pull out the 3 most important things from the list you made above, because we're going to do a ton of stuff. That's just how we're kind of wired. We're high achieving women. We're going to do a ton of stuff. What you need to pull out is the top 3 things, because like in Victoria's example, franchising might be in her step 1. She wants to own a franchise. She's known for the last 12 years. That's what she wants to do, but it's not going to be something that she can do right now. So that wouldn't necessarily make the cut to step 2. So financial independence, if we go back to that one, maybe owning a short-term rental isn't possible for you right now. Maybe not in the next 90 days, maybe not in the next year, whatever that situation looks like. There's going to be some of those chunks that are more applicable to what you can do right now than others. And that's what we want to kind of suss out. So if it happens to be an education component, if it happens to be a mindset shift, if it's really just accountability that you need, like you know how to get there, you know what the GPS says, you just kind of need someone egging you on to say, hey, did you do it? Did you do it? Did you do it? Maybe that's something that you're going to pull forward. All right. Are we good to move forward? I don't want to go too quick. All right. So now step 3 that I usually do, this is kind of a little bit of a two-part here. From those top 3, there is one thing that is stopping you from accomplishing all the other things. It could be education, it could be capital, it could be network, you don't have the right people. There is one thing. It could be your physical health. If your goal is to run a marathon, but you can't even walk around the block, okay, well then we need to start with a conversation with the doctor. You know, there is one thing that will lead to all the other things, where if you don't have this one thing done, you can't take any further steps. And that might get refined over time. This is just for the exercise for right now, but that whatever you think that one thing happens to be that needs to be accomplished from those important 3 steps, or those important 3 actions from the previous step, just go ahead and write that down. What's the one thing that you feel needs to be addressed first? And like I said, that could be something as easy as, you know, getting the education for the licensing for your career change. It could be getting education on how to underwrite a multifamily. It could be something like going to the doctor to make sure you're physically fit enough to start training for a marathon. Whatever that big one thing is, there's going to be that one step that you have to take that if you don't do it, you're either going to be climbing uphill or you won't be possible. And then once you figure out what that one thing is, now we're going to start talking about to-do lists. Because I know, like every other person, every other woman I've met, I am really good at making to-do lists. I have an app on my phone. I have a whiteboard in my kitchen. I have a whiteboard in my office. I even have a whiteboard in my jogging room. Like I am all about the let's do a to-do list and let's check this stuff off. I get physical gratification from marking stuff off my to-do list or checking it off on my app. I physically love to do that. So I will make me some to-do lists. But right now, all you need to do is come up with one action item that addresses that one thing from the step above. So for example, if you feel like maybe your health isn't where you want it to be, and your goal is to run a marathon, like Victoria talked about earlier, your one action step might be to call and make an appointment with your doctor to have a full physical done, have blood work done, x-rays, whatever it happens to be, to make sure that you're okay to start a training plan. Because if you're not medically cleared to start a training plan, there's no point in going through the process of developing a training plan. So that's an example of having that one thing that can stop all the other things from happening further down the line. Everybody's got an action? That's important. And it's one action. Don't write 3 things in here. I know there's 2 lines. Don't be tempted. You can add a little detail to your action, but only one action. I'm telling you. I'm going to hold you accountable to that one action. Now, here's where the magic happens. You are now going to make a commitment to yourself. You are going to write out the actions you're going to take. You're going to write out who needs to be involved. So for example, calling the doctor, you're going to be involved, and probably a receptionist at the doctor's office is going to be involved. You're going to write out when you're taking those actions and block time off on your calendar. So you're not just adding call doctor's office to a to-do list. You're actually going to put time on your calendar, 11 a.m. on Monday morning. I'm calling my doctor's office to make an appointment. All right. And then we're going to go one step further to this accountability portion. And we're going to have you write down physically who is going to hold you accountable. Who do you want to be your accountability buddy? Who do you want to have check in and say, hey, it's now Monday evening. You had on your schedule, you're going to call the doctor at 11 o'clock on Monday morning. Did that happen? And then you're going to have to answer to that person, not necessarily in a negative way, but it's still, you know, as women, because we are very communal, the last thing you're going to want to do is come back to your community and say, I didn't do the thing I told you all I was going to do. That hurts. I've done it. It hurts. So this is where the magic happens, is you're making a commitment to yourself, but you're also making a commitment to other people. And in this case, for the accountability group, other women. So you're really placing the, what are you doing? Who needs to be involved? When are you taking those actions? Who's going to hold you accountable? And then lastly, when do you want to have that completed by? So if the doctor's office calls and, and says, oh, your next appointment's 3 months from now. Oh, I really wanted to start training before 3 months from now. What's a backup plan? So maybe that backup plan is you can go walk into urgent care and have a physical done. So that's why you add that kind of deadline date to it, whatever it happens to be. So if they come back and say that something's not acceptable, you can then go, okay, I blocked off this time to handle this problem. Let's reroute this problem and let's find another doctor's office. Let's find an urgent care. Let's find a way around this problem to meet that deadline. So it doesn't become a someday goal. It becomes next week. I've already done this. It's handled. I've been to the doctor. So this is really where the magic happens for the slide. All of the steps boil down to this one. And then what is this driving towards? So if you are familiar with AWAM, with Aspiring Women, you know that on Fridays, we have an accountability call every Friday at 2 o'clock Eastern. I know it's in my phone and I get multiple reminders because I'm one of those people. I wouldn't be able to know where I'm supposed to be unless my phone told me where to go and when to be there. So what we are doing is we are developing what we're calling a zone accountability group, because we want women to be in the zone. We want them to not just get stuff done, but get stuff done that is not busy, but productive. And that's what we're after. And what you're going to get from joining an accountability group. And I know a lot of women on this call have joined the previous accountability group. So you've seen firsthand a lot of what this could be, the changes that you have seen over the last however many weeks, months, or even a year that you've been joining these calls. But what we are going to be doing, this is going to be much, much more focused than our previous calls. So we're not just kind of regurgitating the same thing. This is going to be the same group of women. We are all working towards our one individual goal, because if you think about it, just showing up and saying, hey, I'm going to have this goal to, organize my office. Like, okay, that's great. That's a worthwhile goal. But is that getting you closer to buying a short-term rental? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But each week, unless you have that one big thing, that one thing you're working towards, 1 week you're organizing your office, the next week you're cleaning out your car, the third week you're talking to a lender. You don't have any of that consistency, that productivity that's moving you forward towards that goal. So we're going to be focusing on one big thing for 90 days. The next thing we're going to be working on is developing that roadmap towards that goal. Because like I mentioned, using Mandy's analogy about using GPS, I know I do it. GPS, I'm great with GPS until like the last maybe 1,000 feet. And it'll tell me turn right and 500 feet. And I'm looking at like, I can't gauge what 500 feet is, but I can see the Wendy's sign down there. And I'm like, oh yeah, I just turn at the opening by the Wendy's. That'll get me back there. That's really the roadmap that we are going to be developing, because that's those last minute turns that are going to get you to the right place. We are also going to be doing weekly calls. We're going to keep them at the same time because we already know a lot of women within our community can make that time. We might change them in the future, but right now they're going to be Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern for 1 quarter. So basically starting this Friday, going all the way to the end of the year, we are working on one thing every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And then obviously we're going to have daily connection with other high achieving women. We are going to be having communication. They're actually going to be given an accountability buddy every single week. And for you introverts in the room, I'm sorry, but it's going to be a different woman every week. So you're going to be forced to do a little bit of networking and make a little bit of connection, learn something new about someone else. You guys can work out however you want to talk to each other, but you're going to get a new accountability buddy every week, because the point isn't just to hold you accountable. The point is also to teach you how to be accountable. It goes back to that proverb, teach a man to fish, you fed them for a lifetime. That's what we're going back to doing. Obviously, you're going to have a group to bounce questions off of, resources, referrals, because everybody here, being high achieving women, we have a network of our own that is potentially quite unique compared to some of the other women in the group. So if you have somewhere you need to bounce ideas off of, you need a referral, you need a connection, you have that ability in real time. The other thing, like I mentioned, is habit formation. We are going to start having habits develop over those 90 days. Habits of being accountable, habits of checking in with other people, habits of getting things done. And at the end of 90 days, when you've completed your goal, you have just formed a habit that you've completed one goal. And that is fantastic. You complete one little thing that gives you like the self-esteem, the gusto to say, I did that, I set a plan, I did the things, I attained that goal, which makes the next goal actually easier. Everybody talks about like, oh, the first million is the hardest to earn. I don't know if anybody's heard that. I hear that quite a bit in my circle. The first million is the hardest to earn. That's because you're learning all the things, you're developing those habits. And then, like I mentioned, we're going to be setting weekly goals, and we have a tracker, and you're going to report on your completion of those weekly goals. But unlike the previous calls we had been doing, where it's like, what do you have going on this week? You're going to work on that this week. We are working on the one thing. So if you have a goal of owning a short-term rental in 90 days, for example, and then you come at us as a pod, as a group, as a zone, and say, look, I want to clean my office this week. That's going to be my weekly goal. We can go back and go, wait a minute, wait. You said your 90-day goal was to get a short-term rental. How is cleaning your office going to help you get a short-term rental? And you might have a good reason, but it's going to be that kind of challenge and accountability amongst other women to make sure what you're actually doing, the busyness you're signing yourself up for, isn't just busyness, that it's also productive. And then big component, I know especially for me, this was very, very important, was mindset shift. We're kicking the limiting beliefs to the curb. I can't do it because ... We're not acceptable. We are going to be changing around the language, changing around the way you talk to yourself. Working on imposter syndrome. I have this. I am freely admitting I have this in a big way. I know probably 6 other women I could name right now that have also freely admitted to having this. So we're going to be dealing with a lot of that as well. And then, like I mentioned earlier, feeling worthy to have your goal, to have something that is entirely you. It's not family, it's not career. If it is happen to be career, but it's not, it's entirely something you have chosen to do. You have taken action on it, and you are going to move forward towards it. And then, like I said, it's not all about the goal. It's not all entirely about the goal. If anybody's read Atomic Habits, one of the main takeaways I loved from Atomic Habits is it's not about meeting the goal. It's about becoming the person that can meet the goal. So in addition to having those goals, we're going to weave in there some different qualities. Again, these are qualities that you're going to choose, different qualities that you want to work on to get to your goal. So a good example of this might be if you are introverted and you want to start getting into the multifamily space. I promise you're going to have to talk to some people. It's just going to be a little bit of a pain point. You're going to have to talk to people. So maybe a quality you want to work on is learning to network, or just learning how to have conversation with people. That might not directly tie into your goal, but it's still a quality that if you develop that quality, it would make it easier to reach your goal. So we're going to talk about that as well. And then obviously, I was not a fan of this. I will freely admit I spent a good solid year working against this whole daily affirmations thing. I'm a chemistry professor. This whole affirmations thing was way too woo-woo for me. This was like in the same realm as like healing crystals. And I'm sorry if you like healing crystals, like I just can't do it. So people kept coming at me. You got to develop some affirmations. You got to develop some affirmations. I'm like, you are cuckoo in the head. Like, I am not doing this. And then something just happened, and it was actually another woman. She dared me to do it. And that kind of like that alpha thing caught up to me. And I'm like, oh no, you didn't just dare me to do this. I'm now going to double dog dare you to do something else. And it just escalated. So now I'm doing daily affirmations. So what we are going to do is also incorporate daily affirmations into our accountability, because that constant repetitive nature of what you're saying to yourself and saying to other people, it has an effect. It has a multiplier effect over 365 days out of the year. Because if you have told yourself 365 times over the course of a year that you're confident, that you're happy, that you're wealthy, that you're worthy, your brain is going to have no choice but to agree to that. So that is why we're doing daily affirmations as well. And then our wonderful call to action, Mandy, this is all you.
I want to say something on affirmations too, because I don't do woo-woo. I've kind of dipped a toe into woo-woo, but I'll tell you what, this book, what to say when you talk to yourself. I got that recommendation like from 4 different people at 4 different times, and finally read it. I'm like, whatever. Like, I understand what it matters, guys, in a way that I can't begin to tell you. So I'm with you, Alex. Call to action, guys. What we're looking to do here in general at Aspiring Women is help people reach for greater heights, help women reach for greater heights. So take an inventory of all your personal and business goals that you have going on in your life. Sit in quiet time and really do yourself a favor, because you probably have more goals going on than you think. And if you can just brain dump all of it onto paper, then you're going to the more truth you put to any situation, the easier it is to deal with, right? So if you see that you have 142 things going on, you're going to realize that all of those things are happening, and you'll be able to then sort out, all right, my buy a franchise thing, that is there, but it's something that I'm not working on right now. What area are you in? If you're looking at those 3 A's that Victoria defined for us, we're going to share that PDF and share those questions that Alex put in Aspiring Women along with this recording. In order to, we're hoping that you get a lot of value out of it. So accountability matters so much. I've seen it firsthand, having the honor of leading the accountability group that has occurred every Friday, and excited to pass the torch to Alex here moving forward. Find an accountability buddy. You can join us, absolutely join us if you want. It's something that we're doing these 90-day sprints. However, if you don't want to join a service like ours that we've kind of already done the groundwork for you, then you will find a lot of benefit finding a buddy to check in with on a regular basis. You owe it to yourself. And then work the problem backwards in order to create daily steps. Always keep in your mind that Google Maps analogy. Did we have a 5th one? I forget.
We are done.
We are complete. So guys, I want to reiterate here the North Star, the daily actions of Next Right Step. We as a group have really put a ton of work. Victoria has spearheaded her journey of $0 to $5,000 cash flow. She said $5,000, but then she realized it was actually 10. And then she made a course that is through Aspiring Women Achieving More, that we are moving forward into these, paid for services that I'll tell you, I belong to a $200 a month gym, and you know what? I belong to it because I'm gonna go. I'm not going to go to the 1995 Planet Fitness. I've seen myself do it time and time again. So we know we've put a ton of effort and time into building things that we think add a lot of value. So consider those. But if you aren't in a spot where you can consider a paid for service, still understand that you can work backwards and think through your North Star and have accountability. That's what really matters. If you want to join us, we hope you do. Any closing remarks from Alex or Victoria?
Just if we can help you get there faster, we want to. So hop in the group and connect with us.
Absolutely. Like we step forward because not that we're like magicians and we figured out the secret sauce, but we step forward because we had the experience and we realized we weren't alone in that experience. So if we can kind of reach back and help other women kind of pull forward faster or easier or smoother, that's what we're doing.
So let's talk about this really quickly. One last point. Victoria's thing is a recorded series that you'll be able to go to at your own pace, but will be delivered to you over the course of 4 different weeks. Alex's 90-day accountability group will be every single Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern at the same placeholder for 90 days. You guys, this starts in like 2 days. This starts on the 8th of this month. So if you want to be part of that, please contact one of us. We'll get you those links. And Victoria shared here in the chat, or she will.
Dropped it in the chat.
Perfect. Awesome. We have like 4 minutes left. Any like 10, 20, 30-second takeaways that anybody had?
Or questions.
Smiles. Jokes. Lisa.
Hi, I wanted to first of all say thank you to all of you ladies for doing this. I actually joined the Aspiring Women's website or the Facebook page when you guys had set it up, but I honestly I haven't been much in touch because I've had some things going on, as we all have, but I am needing to get connected with people. I need to do more networking. I need accountability partners to move our goals forward. We have rentals and we have one multifamily. It's only 18 units, but that was our first multifamily. We own it without any partners. It was seller finance.
Cool.
We have goals that we want to put into place moving forward. And I just recognize that I know that I need to be connected with a group of ladies who actually are, have the same goals, vision, values, even commonalities and personality, things like that. And that's what I'm trying to get connected with.
We are all in this together, my friend. Yeah. So yeah, let's definitely, let's plan a time to connect. We'll connect with you via the Facebook group and or Messenger or something, and kind of see what makes the most sense for you. But we're glad you're here, my friend.
Sounds great. Thank you. And it was wonderful. I took lots of notes.
Yay.
I took screenshots because it helps me to remember and be able to kind of put this plan in motion. But I really appreciate it. Great input, great ideas, suggestions, and resources. And I just thank you guys for doing that. I really needed that today. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I have a worksheet. Alex has a worksheet. We'll drop that for free into the group. So just like head into the Facebook group and all this stuff will be there. We really wanted today to be something that was helpful where you could walk through something and leave like having had a minute to yourself to think about some things, because we often don't schedule that, and that you're leaving here just with some thoughtful reflection on how to move your goals forward.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for joining us, and be in touch via our Facebook page if you have questions, and looking forward to seeing what you all can aspire towards.
Thank you.
Thank you.